What up? This is Matt with Gear Zombie, and today we're going to teach you how to mic a guitar cabinet.
Gear Zombie.
Okay, so you're just starting to record and you want to start miking your guitar cabs. What I want to do in this video is discuss some of your options for microphones and mic placement, and what difference the mic placement makes in your sound. We'll have a few audio clips so you can listen to the difference in mic position. Before I go any farther, I want to say that tone is a personal taste. And tone, just like dating, somebody's got to have the uglies, right? Or the fatties. When I first started recording, I started with the old pod kidney bean, the old 2.0. I actually started miking drums before I started miking guitars. And while I didn't have too much difficulty getting a good drum sound, I always seemed to have a problem getting a decent guitar tone whenever I mic'd a cab. Then after years and years of using modelers, I wanted to get back into amps and I wanted to get this figured out. There's several different ways you can go about it, but again, I want to stress that no way is right or wrong. Sure, there are best practices and things that everybody does, but if you do some research on some of your favorite recordings, I bet you're going to find some goofy techniques. I've read everything from putting a microphone at the top of a staircase to putting a microphone in a fishbowl inside of a piano. We're going to talk about today is pretty much your straight up mic on speaker techniques. For starters, there's different mics you can use. Most people use dynamic microphones. Now there's a large array of dynamic microphones. The most common one to mic guitar cabs is the Shure SM57. I use a few different microphones depending on what I'm doing and what kind of cabinet I have. But for the most part, there's always a 57 on there somewhere. There's many types of dynamic microphones on the market. The reason a lot of people like using dynamic microphones don't require power like condenser microphones. They're basically just a miniature speaker working backwards. So you can take this microphone, put it right up close to your sound source, and it'll take the sound pressures without distorting. The important thing to know about dynamic microphones, and really any microphone, because it's basically a speaker in reverse, just like a guitar speaker, no two are going to sound the same. If you buy two Shure SM57s, put them both in the exact same spot, odds are one's going to sound just a little bit different than the other. A couple other microphones I tend to use, the Sennheiser E609. I don't generally use this as a primary microphone. I might mic more than one speaker, or I might mic one speaker in two spots. If you mic one speaker in two spots, you have to watch your phasing. If your microphones become out of phase, your tone gets extremely thin and unappealing. If you want to hear what this sounds like with the 57 mixed, there's a link down in the description for a video I did with a 5150 EL34 running through a Mesa Boogie 212, and I had a 57 on one speaker and I had the 609 on another. Another microphone I see on guitar cabs a lot is a Sennheiser MD421. This one's nifty because it's got a dial. Basically changes the EQ setting of the mic. Next up are condenser microphones. Condenser microphones have a larger element or diaphragm in the microphone. They're also a lot more sensitive. Condenser microphones don't handle the pressure levels as well as dynamic microphones do. I personally don't ever run a condenser microphone when I'm miking a guitar cab, especially for like high gain heavy stuff. However, if I'm doing something that's primarily clean, having a condenser backed away from the cab can give you really good results. Your third option would be a ribbon mic. I don't have any here. Ribbon mics tend to get pricier, especially if you get into something that you're actually going to really want. So in this case, we're going to do this with the old trusty SM57. A few things you should be aware of before you start miking up your speakers. In this particular case, we're miking a 412 cab. Now, just like we discussed with the microphones, how every dynamic mic is different, every one of these speakers is going to sound different. There's a few different ways to determine which speaker you personally like the best. You can either take your mic and mic each speaker and listen for which one you like best. If you have a friend around, you could have them move a microphone for you. You can also put earplugs in and play your guitar and kind of move your ear around the speaker. That's not my favorite way to do it. I start listening to each speaker through a microphone in my room where I can just listen to it with headphones or through my monitors and determine which one works the best. But before you do that, you have to know where to place the mic. I chose the old Crate Blue Voodoo for this because it's got the metal grill and you can see straight through. For example, on my Mesas, I have grill cloth and you can't see through. So what you end up doing is using a flashlight so you can get a reference of where the cone's at. I tend to dial my amp in the way I like it in the room with no mic on it. Then I throw a mic on it and see what I've got. And I always end up making adjustments after I get the mic on it. And we're going to talk more about how to dial in for recording in a different video. The real basics and all you really need to know is that the center of the cone, the dust cap itself, is going to be the harshest sounding part of the speaker. So what you can do is you can start with your mic right in the center of the cone, knowing that that's going to be the harshest, brightest spot of the speaker. And when I do this, I do it with the mic straight on to the cone. And then what I do is I start moving gradually one way or the other outside the cone. What you'll find is the farther you get out, the more high end you lose and the warmer or boomier it's going to get. But what you will generally find in each speaker is a sweet spot. Another thing you can do is maybe you're having a difficult time finding a spot that you think really sounds good. Maybe it gets a little too muffled out this way and it's too bright in this way. So another technique is to bring your microphone out and then angle it back in towards the dust cap. By taking the mic outside and angling it back in, you're not getting all of the harshness of the dust cap, but you're not getting all of the roundness of the outside of the speaker. You're able to kind of dial in a blend. The other thing you have to consider is distance from the cone. A lot of guys will tell you to get it right up on the grill as close as you can get it. I personally don't like it that way. I like to back it off a little bit, maybe 6 inches or so from the grill, and it just gives a little space to breathe, and it gives to me what I think is a more natural sound than having it crammed down the speaker's throat. So after I have a sound I think I'm gonna like, I record one track, and then I record another track, and I pan one far right, one far left, one far right, one far left. That's what's going to give you the bigness in your sound, is recording 2 guitar tracks and panning one right and one left. I'll put a link in the description because I also have a video about recording guitars and panning right and left and what difference that makes. So for this example, we're going to use a Crate Blue Voodoo. I'm not sure what this cabinet's loaded with. It's some form of Eminence. And I actually purposely kind of wanted to use this cabinet because it's not my favorite sounding cabinet. But we're going to run this through the dirty channel, and I've got a TS9 on for boost and a decimator to clean it up. Here we go. Alright, that was a quick rundown on how to mic your guitar cabinet. We did a quick run through on what microphones you can use and where to place them on the speaker cab. So I didn't set those up in a mix, so that probably would not have been the final tone I would have used if I was actually recording a production. This was more to give you an example of the impact that moving your microphone across the speaker cone has. Just felt I should include that statement before the internet says I don't like his tone. I wasn't exactly going for tone of the year. But what I hope I got across is that this isn't all that difficult. Getting just a basic, reasonable guitar tone for recording is pretty easy to achieve. But if I can encourage one person to grab a mic, stick it on a cab, and make some actual music, I'm more than happy. This is a valuable skill to have, and something that I think you're gonna have a lot of fun doing. Until next time, thanks a lot for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Gear Zombie. I'm in the middle of recording, my girlfriend bought me cherries. Oh, booze and cherries. In the middle of my video, my girlfriend brings me twisted cherries. Oh.